Hello there. So just going over some stuff today about how to use Google Drive. If Google Drive, if you haven't gone to it before, is pretty much just a place to create new files, whether it's like a Google Doc, a presentation, Google Slides. You can upload anything, even if it's not Google related to this as well, like a Microsoft Word document, although you're not going to really be using those on your Chromebooks. And it's a way to organize all of those files as well. So when you open up Google Drive, I guess it moves my picture, you're going to notice a couple things here. One, there's this big button in the side here with New. So that lets you create new folders, which is the place that you're going to put all of your documents. You can create a new Google Doc, a new Google Sheet, which is a spreadsheet, a Google Slide, and all sorts of things. You can make forms, a drawing if you ever have to use a computer to draw a picture of some sort. Most of the other stuff you're probably not going to use. But a lot of times your Google Docs are going to be created by Google Classroom. That doesn't mean you're never going to have to make a new one. So we're going to practice making some of those. We're definitely going to make new folders just in case you ever come in here and just see a list of all sorts of things, which is kind of, I cleaned it up, but if I go to one of these folders I haven't fully done yet, I just end up with lists and lists and lists of scanned documents, all sorts of stuff that just kind of gets shoved in there. And it was driving me nuts, so I went in and organized, and some of the things we're going to do today are going to help you do that. So creating a new file. If you want to create a new doc, all you do is you click on the doc and it pulls you to a new tab and you can name it. You can do whatever you need to do with that Google document. Otherwise, what we do is naming that file. So when I was in there, you could have named it up at the top, but usually it defaults to like untitled. So if I go to one of these scanned ones that I'm sure are just some random things from last year, otherwise you can right click on any of these. Looks like I had some old seating charts, some old answer keys, but I can right click on anything and rename it once it's been named. And I can name this whatever, answer key for reactions of some sort. And I can click OK, and I have a new file that is named with something that makes a lot more sense than scanned file with a bunch of random numbers. Right. Another big type of, it's not really a file, but it's a folder that you're going to create. If I go back to my main drive, right now I'm in the school folder, which is in my drive, so that's how they kind of organize all this. So my drive has a bunch of folders in it right now. If I decide that I need a new folder for, let's say, the new class that I'm teaching this year, I don't have a coding folder yet, I can do a new file by clicking up here. If I did that too fast, new folder, and then it asks you to name it. You type in your name, and now you have a folder. The little person, whenever you see a person on a file, a folder, anything like that, it means it's been shared with someone. So I know that these three folders are shared with someone. They're not just my folder. Someone else can view them. But since this is a new folder, I can click on it, and now I don't have any documents in there. So let's say I need a file in this folder, and I need a new one. If I'm in that folder, when I click on Google Slides or any of those files, it's going to put that file in there. We can name it here quick if it ever wakes up. I'm going to name it something simple for right now, and I'm not even going to really do anything with it. And I'll go back, and there's now a file in there. But let's say you have a file in a different place that you want to put into this folder. So moving and organizing. If we go back, let's find some random thing. Doesn't really matter what it is. You do the same thing regardless. So let's move another one of my scan things in there just for fun. So I can do this a couple ways. I can right click it like I just did, and I can click move to, and then I can click the buttons to find, like I go back, which brings me to my drive, and I can go, I'm gonna move it to the coding. And it's gonna ask me, because this is in a shared area, people are gonna lose access, I don't really care, so I'm gonna click move. The other thing, and it's probably I like it better at least, is this whole thing on the side here is kind of like different areas within your drive. So if I click this little arrow next to my drive, it brings up all the folders in my drive. If I want to open up the one that's in school, I can do that. There must not be any folders in school. Oh, it's another one that has folders. Curriculum does. I can see all the folders in my curriculum folder. Okay. So if I want to move this document to my coding, all I have to do is click and drag and let go when I'm on the coding. And it asks me again, yeah, some people are going to lose access. If you don't have a shared folder, then it's not going to ask you that. I can move a bunch of stuff at a time. So if you hold shift, you will select everything in between the two that you clicked on. So I just clicked twice and it highlighted everything in between those. Or you can click control and you can pick the ones that you want to move. So every one that I click on while I'm holding control will let me select just the ones that I click on. And I can click and drag all 4 of those at the same time, and I can put them in whatever folder I want to. And yes, some people lose access. Okay. Different groups of files. Yeah, I don't know what that means. So that was moving and organizing. I'm gonna have to think about the different groups of files here for a little bit. Not sure what I was thinking when I wrote that down last week. Been a long time. How to rename a file or folder? You can do that. You can right click on a file, you can right click on a folder. I'm not sure you can do it here, you can. So you can rename them on the side panel as well. And if you decide you want to move it or call it something else. Sharing. So this is a big thing with Google Drive, is anyone who's got another Google Drive or Google account, like your classmates, your teachers, anything like that, can have something shared with them. So this little button here with the person and a plus is how you can share things. So I can share an individual file, and I can share it with someone who I share a bunch of stuff with, since we teach 7th grade science together. And I can type a message, since she's not, this isn't really anything for any class in particular, especially one that she teaches. This is an 8th grade assignment. I just let her know, ignore it. Or I can say what the file is or why I'm sending it to them. Another way to share here is you can share the whole folders. So if I find a folder here, I go back to my drive, and let's say there was another teacher that taught coding, and we both needed to put stuff into this folder and both needed to use stuff in that folder. I can share the whole folder at the same time. And it does let you know who it's shared with already. If I type in someone as well, I have the option to change what they can do with this document. So they can change it to just viewing. This would be a good thing to do with like assignments. If you want someone to read through it, change it to view so they can't change it accidentally or on purpose or anything. You just want to be in control of what you do. When I share things with Mrs. Froman, I'm going to usually end up making her be an editor because I want her to be able to do stuff with it too. Last type of thing here that we can do is sharing. And this is a big one, especially when a teacher says, create this Google Doc and put a link to it in another Google Doc or your Google Classroom assignment or something like that. A lot of times, what I had happen last year is students would get the link, like the URL, which is like the website. That is not the link that we need for sharing. when you click on a document, a PDF, when you click on anything for sharing in Google Drive, you have this little option on the bottom that says get a link, or sometimes it's called a shareable link. And it can open, change it. So I think it defaults to Prairie Hill. Only people with a Prairie Hill email address can view, which is fine for class stuff. But sometimes I make something that other people have to be able to see, and there's different options for anyone with this link. It doesn't just have to be Prairie Hill. So you just make sure that you copy the shareable link, and if you're in a Google Doc or something like that, let's just go to my fake test thing here. I can share within these things as well. And what I just want to really point this out here, which one you should use for sharing a link as opposed to which one isn't going to work. So you want to copy this link, even though you can't see it. If you click the change, then you can see it. It doesn't really matter if you see it or not. Copying it puts it on your clipboard. And then if you go to a document, you can paste it in. So let's say that I had to put my link here. I can either right click and hit paste, or I can do a Control V, which is the shortcut for pasting. And there's my link. Right. A lot of students last year in the spring were copying the website address, which is not the shareable link. So we just want to make sure that we get the right one there. Right. Okay, so the different views for Google Drive here, we've got what I call a list view. There's a grid view as well. The list view lets you see more files, and they're all in a line. If you need to see them, you can click on this little info or hide details button. It's got an eye on it, and it'll show you a little preview of what it looks like. So that's kind of handy to be able to tell what this thing is. And then we have the grid view, which I call kind of boxes that show you the picture. So it does take up more room this way. You can't see as much in one screen, but whichever method you like the best is probably the one that you should go with. And the other thing that I did just find here too when I was looking up at this menu is there is a big preview button, which brings up a way that you can kind of just go through everything left to right and see what it is. You can also get a shareable link without having to click the share button first. And you can delete things as well. So if this file you don't need anymore, which I don't know, I don't really need any of these in particular anymore, so I can scan them again. If I click that remove, then it deletes it, and it says it's removed in your trash can. And you can find your trash can there. And I just remembered what that other thing was. Different groups of files. I don't think that's really the best way to word it, but the last thing here I want to show you is these different areas on the left side. So my drive is like where your stuff is. There's a bunch of different options over here too. So if someone shares something with you, it's not added to your drive right away. It actually goes to this shared with me part. So let's see what's something Mr. Plord shared a classroom daily checklist with me. There's no way I could find this on my Google Drive by just trying to find this document. It's not there. It's not in my drive. So if this is something I'm going to be using a lot, it probably is. I'm going to right click it and shortcut. I don't want a shortcut. Usually it just says add to drive, but apparently this one will only let me add a shortcut. All right, let's find something else. Mrs. Harvey shared something for training. To workspace. Shortcut to drive. Usually it just says add to drive, and then it'll be there. But anyway, if we go back to my drive, there should be a shortcut there. I can put this in whatever folder I want it to go in. Probably going to end up going in my administrative files one under whatever folder it makes sense in. So I'm going to move it there. Okay, so that's the shared with me part. If someone says they shared something with you and you can't find it, that's where you want to go. Otherwise, if you're like, last week on Friday, I was working on this, but I can't for the life of me remember where it was. So if it's something that you worked on recently, you can go to the Recent tab and find it there. Another thing is the starred. So if you see any of these things in your drive, let's go to my coding one again, and let's take a look at some of these things. There used to be a faster way to do this. Okay, must just have to, okay, now you have to right click it. You used to just be able to click a button that was a star. And if you add it to starred, now it's got a little star next to it. Okay. So if it's something that you're going to use a lot, I would add it to your starred, because then you can just go to the starred folder and like all the stuff that I use a lot, my 7th grade science homework slides I use every day. Instead of having to go through all of these folders and find it, I can just go to my starred folder and look there. And then if you accidentally delete something that you didn't want to, you can always come back here and right click on whatever you didn't want to delete and click restore, and it's back wherever it was to begin with, and it's not deleted anymore. Okay. So those are the big things here. You guys shouldn't have any shared drives. It's just like drives that all the teachers can use. But these are the big ones down here for some of those different areas in Google Drive. And then the last part was searching. So if you know that there's a document somewhere, but you can't find it, and maybe I want to do a test, and it's on whatever topic, and I know it's named something like this, but I couldn't find it in my folders. Now I can pull up a bunch of different ones. They just show you the top choices. If it's not one of those, you can always click enter, and it brings up a whole new, oops, apparently I had that selected. Tectonics. I wanted to hit enter. Why is it going to? Usually it brings up a bigger menu. If I click the search, there we go. For some reason, enter was opening up the file. And then I can search through everything that had a possibility of matching test plate tectonics. So that's the gist of Google Drive here. There's a lot going on. Big things though is you can organize files, you can create files, you can find files different ways, and you can share them with all sorts of people. So that should be it for this video. Thanks for watching.